Mohammed Patel wins here.
Other than Rd.2. Look at these two go!
He's going to do it! His first victory!
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been!
Good afternoon and welcome to Malaysia for round 2 of the Formula SimRacing Academy Championship from the hot and humid Sepang International Circuit. 2 weeks ago, the season got underway in fantastic fashion in Imola, with Ground Effect SimRacing's George Zalogiannis taking his first ever FSR victory and leading the standings from Netrex's Liam Howard and Team Iris driver Wesley Bookout. We're joined by our recent broadcasting partner VCO, alongside our returning sponsors Masita eSports Clothing, SimLad, and 3D Wrap, who will be supplying prizes to our world champions at the end of the season. My name's Tobias Blumschein, and joining me for qualifying and 34 laps of racing action is Edward Hunter in the commentary box and Felix van Delft directing our cameras. Now Ed, people watching may recognize your voice from highlight videos for the World Championship. How excited are you to make your live commentary debut here in Malaysia?
Well, Tobias, I'm very excited indeed. It's an honour and a privilege to be here. Of course, I'm used to commentating after the event rather than during, so I'll have to get out of the habit of describing everything in the past tense while it's actually happening. So that's going to be fun. But of course, you and me have commentated on other series before, so it's great to reunite here in FSR, and I think Malaysia is going to be an absolutely cracking first round of the 3 divisions that we got going on today.
Yeah, Malaysia's obviously the first Herman Tilke track ever built. It's quite a fun track, one of my more preferred tracks in the world. I must say, especially those corners like turn 1, 2, the snail corners, which have been sort of pioneered by Herman Tilke. Wouldn't you agree with me, Rob? Ed.
I agree. I'm not sure what Ross would think. He's not here at the moment. But yes, the snail corner, interesting way of describing it, because it's a little bit like Shanghai has a similar sort of thing. It's a little bit more elongated, but certainly you can run side by side through that first section. There's the 2 DRS zones either side of that lovely main grandstand that we're looking at the moment, and it's certainly going to be a packed load of action coming up, and qualifying about to get underway, I believe, Tobias.
Yes, it is. Obviously, last round was a very interesting race, as we're now seeing the cars go in. The last race was great. Obviously, like I said, Zalogiannis won the race for his team. It was
always great to get your first win under the belt as well, Tobias. That will certainly aid George's confidence the rest of the season, and he'll start to think of himself as a contender rather than someone that looking for that first win. And it raises the game and changes your not your priorities, because everyone wants to win, obviously, but it certainly changes your mentality slightly. In Ground Effect, of course, the reigning champions last season after Damien Scoveron, who now drives for Burst in the World Championship, won, and he actually won this very race last season at Malaysia in the Academy Championship. So Ground Effect will be looking to repeat that with their new star.
Yeah, Zach drove a really good, consistent race last round. He just handled the tyres much better than most people. Obviously, Wesley Bookout got pole position, but sort of dropped back when he had tyre issues, and actually spun in the final lap, I think, which is a bit of a shame. But no, this series is very, very good because it's got the least amount of boost system, which means that you have to really conserve it. You only have 60 seconds. And in a long race like 34 laps, which is about 40 minutes on these tracks, it is tough to conserve these things. So having that addition is very, very tough. It makes it much, much more exciting. Wouldn't you agree with me?
Oh yeah, certainly. And with all the factors going on, the tyre wear, the heavy fuel, it certainly makes it a massive challenge. And of course, in these new cars, we were using very similar cars last season, of course, in FSR, but they're new, of course, to real life Formula One. And getting to grips with them is always going to be a massive challenge, especially for your newer drivers. So the Academy, it's often, for a lot of people, it's the first point of call where they all get experience, as we see one of the Valet cars about to start a qualifying lap here, Tobias.
Also, last race, who did you? I'm guessing you watched it, Ed.
I did. I listened to your wonderful commentary, Tobias.
Thank you. I'm wondering who really struck you out as a good driver there. Like, who really struck to you as like someone? Okay, he's looking good for the season.
Well, there was someone who went a little under the radar. We just saw the end of that qualifying. It was actually Peter Vagapov, of course, who started at the very back. I'm not sure if he did deliberately. I think he had a problem which when he couldn't qualify. Started at the very tail of the field, worked his way up to 4th by the end. And I've seen Peter Vagapov compete in ERC for Valet, where he won the 6 hours of Barcelona, of course, in the LMP2 class. So a very capable driver. And I think he'll be one to watch this time, especially if he qualifies a bit further up. He might have a better chance of finishing on the podium this time.
Yeah, Vagapov, I was very impressed with his driving, actually, from last round. He drove incredibly well, and he sort of came under the radar. I was like, P30. If he does well, it'll be impressive to see, but if he doesn't, he won't be... Well, he'll just swallow under the radar a bit. But no, his drive from, I think it was up to P4, I believe. Am I correct in that?
I believe so, yeah, because there was a little bit of a clash, wasn't there, that helped him get up to P4, I think, by the end.
From last to P4, that was a pretty impressive thing. And the field was really, really clean last round. It was good racing. It was hard, but really fair, and it was right till the end. We really got spoiled. I really got spoiled for my first one. Hopefully, you'll get spoiled for your second one here at Malaysia.
Oh, yeah,
it's a lovely circuit Malaysia, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Can't stop praising it.
Yeah, we've been talking over each other, praising it. That's how excited we are.
As we're following Attila Molnar here for the Royal Blue Racing car. Yeah, just taking the corners. Eyes on his outlap.
Okay.
But
well,
no,
taking the corners would be a lovely one, rather than not taking the corners is the ideal way to drive. But certainly, it's such a challenging set because you've got these fast corners, and we see Attila Molnar coming up to the turn 5-6 section where there's this sudden change of direction, which is I always find thrilling, as he sets a purple first sector, I believe. So this is a good lap by the Royal Blue Racing driver. Royal Blue yet to really get their season underway, it must be said, and look at the direction for the sort of double apex sort of right-hander there. Is 7 and 8 as we go towards the hairpin, Tobias, and this is absolutely crucial. It's so easy to get your braking point wrong here and go sliding off into gravel. I've done it many times myself.
I think the exit's actually tougher for me because it's just that you're relying so much on the mechanical grip to drive you out of the corner that you somehow accidentally spin the car, which means that you're sort of, and you're just around and you just feel like, oh god, what have I done? Oh no, which is just really embarrassing when it happens because you're like, oh, I've spun the car.
Even with all the downforce on these front bunkers, it's so easy just to, like you say, just get it completely wrong and find yourself understeering off. As we see, slightly slower in the middle sector, so this is going to need to be quite the end of the lap for Attila Molnar.
He had a poor final corner. I feel he went a bit wide, however, let's see. I might be wrong. No, that was a really poor final corner. Went a bit wide, misjudged his braking point, and just didn't do very well there. As currently, Van Vukas is P1. Had an okay race, I'd say, last round, didn't he? He was he was a fairly good driver, up in the top 10.
Yeah, definitely. The race. Van Vukas had his moments in that race in Imola and was sort of competing in that battle with Vagapov and a couple other drivers as well. And so certainly we'll be looking to with these qualifying pace he's showing at Malaysia, it definitely seems this track suits him a bit better as we look at Harvig just crossing the line in 11th place and improving to 132.1. And it's interesting, isn't it, how certain tracks suit drivers a little bit better than others. And what do you reckon that's down to, Tobias? Is it just down to your sort of personal preference? Is it down to mentality? Or do you think generally there's some tracks that the way you drive just makes you faster sometimes? To put it simply,
I think it's a bit of a combination of the first one, which is like confident. For one, it's a confidence on the circuits. For instance, if a driver's never driven the circuit, he won't have any confidence on it. But if he's driven a lot of the laps on it, for instance, me in Sebring, I've driven that track a lot due to other things. But if you drive the track more, you'll have more confidence in it, and you'll know how to approach it better. But it also does depend on your driving style. I prefer longer corners, which I can get which I can then go have a wider entry in and then accelerate out of, because I'm someone who's quite an acceleration-focused driver. So no, it really does depend on your driving style, though, because if you have, like I said, it depends on how you attack specific corners and how it's approached. Obviously, it's not like in a motorcycle, where the direction of the circuit, if it's clockwise or anti-clockwise, that matters more on a bike. But in a formula car, in like cars, it doesn't really matter.
Let's look at Kamil Jablonski for Grand Effect, the teammate, of course, to George Zalagianis, who's in second at the moment and leading the championship. So he'll be looking to make an impression in that number 17 car on a personal best first two sectors, 24.1, 30.5. So he'll be looking to get himself up into the top 20 or so.
Doing good laps, actually, yeah.
Let's see the final corner here. Wide in.
Gets a much
slide.
better.
Oh, a little bit of a drift in there. Let's hope that doesn't cost him too much time for his sake. But he goes towards the line. What is this going to be? A 1:32.9 gets him up to 20 seconds, so not quite into the top 20 then. As we look, here's his teammate, George Salagianis, as I just mentioned, on another hot lap, going on a last-ditch effort to get pole position off of Van Vukas.
Yeah, obviously, we haven't really seen the Team Iris car perform yet, so they're going to be someone to watch still. I mean, they're not really much to be seen, but I have a feeling they will show their card.
Yeah, just looking at the order, Moynier down in 18th in the number 7, Loic Moynier. I'm trying to look at where Bucat is. The order anywhere. I don't see him at the moment, so be an issue there. 30 cars on the grid, though, of course, so absolutely packed field as you look at Salagianis. Lower in the middle sector, Tobias. I don't think this is quite going to be enough for pole, but let's see what George has got here.
Yeah, no, I think he's missed out on this one. Out of the final corner, clean out of it, but it's close. Will he make it? No, it's close. It's still a 10th though.
Always
Not far
frustrating
off
to lose out by a 10th as you look at
we got
Dmitry Zarov for the valet.
Really going here, 3/10. Again, I'm not sure this is going to be it. As going through the the lower loop, as he's fastest in sector 2, that could change it all.
Ooh,
really
that is impressive, actually.
So he's very clean through the bottom section, taking this. I believe he's going flat out through there.
If he can get into the top 3 here, that would be an excellent starting position for the valet driver. But on the ragged edge, as you say, Tobias.
Yeah, he lost it a bit there. That's going to cause him. It's going to cost him time because he hasn't been able to straighten up and hit the apex as he wanted to. That's not the most amazing thing. Again, you want to hook it in, hit the apex now, full power, accelerate out of the corner, keeps it good, clips the outer curb. That's a very good thing. And he stays third though, as Oliver Perikian overtakes him, so he goes down to 4th. As Dimitri Zaharoff goes to 4th.
I think Thornton Thomas, the only one still on the lap at the moment, as Thomas Andream Harisoa, 74, has actually just got into 20th from lower down the order. So good little effort by the Madagascan driver there. As you say, the big top 4 is where all the changes happen there. Paracan getting a great lap right at the end.
You know, as we go through, Kostas Van Vukas takes P1 for the number 20 Grand Effect SimRacing team. P2 goes to George Zalogianis, his teammate. P3 is Oliver Perikian in the 24 Super Venturi. Dmitry Zaharoff is in the 25 Valet eSports car. Istvan Singel, P5 in the another ground effect car. They've got 3 cars in the top 5. Very good for them. Number 77, Royal Blue Racing by Attila Molnar, P6. Gerard Batilla, Royal Blue again. Sotiris Papageorgiou in the ground effect, another ground effect. Romello Silver, P9, and Scott Flack, P10. A few different names, must say.
So I think we should probably move on, Tobias, to looking at the standings from the first round then. So as you expected, George Zalagianis leading, having won the first race from Liam Howard in the NetRex. Of course, Liam Howard qualifying down outside the top 10 there, down in, I believe, 17th actually for NetRex. Wesley Buchout, I didn't see him anywhere in the order, so I'm not sure Wesley Buchout is actually racing to... Yeah, he's an absentee, I'm afraid, but so he's in 3rd. From Peter Bagabov, who we did mention, Peter Bagabov 15th in the end in that qualifying session. But we're looking to make another comeback through the field. Slightly higher up this time, of course. Scott Flack, who we mentioned in P9, I think, or P10, sorry. He's 5th in the championship, 16 points to his name, ahead of Matthias Harvig, Kostas Van Vukas, who starts on pole, Indrek Rimet, Yanis Leanos, and Dano Brandholm, who rounds out the top 10 at the moment. But this is all going to change quite dramatically, I feel, depending on how this race pans out in the next 34 laps.
If Van Vukas gets a good race, he could usurp a lot of drivers. And Peter Vagapov, I don't think we can really count out after that stellar performance in MLS. So yeah, let's see how they can do.
Vagapov, of course, has got Loic Mounier right behind him on the grid, though. Loic Mounier, no slouch from what I've seen. Just fresh off a couple of weeks ago, their first win in LMP1 in ERC, which I was also commentating on, luckily. and that was a great moment for the Irish team there. So they'll be looking to recover from that difficult qualifying session.
Oh yes, for sure. I mean, I believe that they're probably going to be better in race pace. I mean, we saw it last round they didn't qualify, but I have a feeling they will be. But no, this will show if you're actually serious for the drive for the championship, or was just a one race fluke. This race, actually, I think.
But I think the big takeaway there from qualifying, Tobias, is that Grand Effect, we've clearly got a brilliant setup here. I was talking to Liam Rance, who's one of the drivers in the World Championship, of course, and he was telling me that TR Motorsports, his team, didn't really have any kind of setup on hand, because a lot of some of the drivers in the bigger teams and more experienced teams have got all these setups, and TR Motorsports don't really have any of those. So Liam Rance is sort of saying, well, I'm going to learn the circuit and sort of make up time that way, and that can be a big advantage if you're a team like Grand Effect have got 5 or 6 cars at their disposal there, and all of them really learning from each other, and that's why they're 1-2 on the starting grid.
Yeah, that's something you have to think about, like setup work and how important it is for these races, because it can give you like a good 3, 4, 5 seconds on a lot of the tracks if you have a setup or not.
It's not the most glamorous part of the sim racing job, is it? Pounding around.
It's probably the most important
setups.
job. The setup maker is by far the most important one. Something I cannot do setups, so I usually have a lot of teammates that have helped me set up. So yeah.
That's surprising, Tobias. I always rated your technical feedback.
I'm good with car feel, but I can't do setups, so no.
I can describe it, but you can't make the little adjustments.
Yeah, no. Yeah, thank you for everyone who's done my setups for me in the past races. So yeah, I thank you. But no, obviously, we're coming up to the race. Predictions?
I think Grand Effect are going to work together, and I think we're going to see Zalagianis and Van Vukas really fight each other in the final couple of laps, unless Parakan can make like a monster start.
You know, I think Parakin's I'm going to give Parakin I'm going to say he's going to win the race. And I'll say P2 will be Attila Molnar, and P3 will have Kostas Van Vukas.
I think Peter Vagabov has a great chance of finishing on the podium this time.
But
that's quite a shout, and I've just looked at the warm-up. He's just set fastest lap while waiting for the grid to form 1:34.8.
However, I wouldn't. I'm not worrying about warm-up. I'm not going to really concern myself with that. It'll be also interesting to see what a tire wear is going to be like on this track. I am really unsure about what it's going to be like. You?
Well, I think with all these fast corners, it's certainly going to be more of a factor than it was in Malaysia. What I've been hearing is even in these shorter races, the pro drivers, they've been talking about 2 stops, basically. It's either soft, medium, or soft, I think, with the strategies that I've heard bandied around.
I could see a soft to hard working for a 1 stop, maybe here.
It depends, though. You have to go really careful through these fast corners, like we've been talking about, because they, lap after lap, they chew through that rubber.
Oh, for sure, yes. It's very important for to see how the tyre wear is going to be. But that's something we'll see, and we'll be commenting. We're really going to the unknown for this. However, we're going into the grid now. Ross, do you want to take this over?
Yeah, sure. I mean, hello, I'm here, but anyway, it's Van Vukas on the pole, Zalagianis standing up alongside him with Perikin in 3rd and Dmitry Zarkov in 4th place for the Valley Esports number 25 machine. Single is in P5 with Attila Molnar for the 77 Royal Blue Racing Squad in P6, and it's Gerard Battaglia and Papa Giorgio lining up in P8. Completing the top 10, it's Romelu Silveira and Scott Flack before Giannis Lanos and Matthias Harvig completes the 6th row of the grid here at Kuala Lumpur. Moving further down is Greg Luchak in P13, and 14th is Fabrice Moralato. Peter Vagapov is 15th, and Loic Moynier is 16th for the number 7 Team Iris car. Further on, we've got Liam Howard for the Netrex Grand Prix, number 44 with Brant Tholm in 18th for Valet. Then Sophie Jones and Thomas Andrew Maharasoa in P20. Moving further onwards, Ramitz is 21st, Eliza Nunez in 22nd. Dylan Platt is 23rd, meanwhile, with Fabrice Mistral in the number 21 car. He lines up 24th on the grid. Marsa is in 25th, and Kamil Jablonski, a bit of a disappointing qualifying for him there today, 26th on the grid. Thomas Smith and Garnier, they complete, that is the 14th row of the grid, I believe, if my math serves me correctly. And then finalising it off, we've got Thornton Thomas and David O'Reilly at the back for Valet and 7 Arrows RM. That will be your grid for round 2 of the FSR 2022 Academy Championship here in Malaysia. And well, looks like we're all ready to get going on the formation lap. But indeed, yeah, hello, I am here. Sorry I wasn't here for the start. I kind of got thrown in, but hello, yes, I'm here, hoping for a good race. I was kind of sat in the commentary booth, not really saying anything for the last kind of back end of qualifying. So interesting stuff there. Very excited to see what's going to happen in the race.
Well, I'm glad I could keep your seat warm for you, Ross.
Thank you, Ed.
Tobias kept calling me Ross a few times there, which was confusing because I wasn't sure if I was to hand over to you or if he was confusing me with you, but it's all good. And I'm just looking at the weather app, and there is light rain in Kuala Lumpur, in of course central Malaysia. So that's 25 degrees Celsius. The actual temperature, though, the precipitation won't end within an hour. So I can't imagine it will hit the circuit, but it might well affect the pro race and the World Championship race later on.
Oh yeah, for sure, but it could also affect this race right at the end. Could you imagine if it was a bit like the Russian Grand Prix we had back in September when it was just really raining and the cars just skid off because they're on things.
And it would throw tyre strategy completely out the window as well, Tobias, let you say.
Also, I have been notified about tyre strategy, that there'll be a one-stop here with medium, soft, or soft to medium. So,
okay,
yeah.
What I heard was completely accurate.
Also, Van Vukas is on mediums, so Zalagiotis, Parikian, and Zaharoff should all get much better starts than him, so watch out for that. However, the mediums looked better in Imola. Wouldn't you agree with me, Ross?
Yeah, I mean the tyres they were looking pretty good. I mean, of course, coming to a new season, a new round. The championship as well. It's interesting to see. In Kuala Lumpur is a track that is quite hard on the tyres. High temperature, lots of high speed corners. So I think a one stop. I could definitely understand why it's the preferred strategy, but you are going to be seeing lots of time and management going on. But Van Vukas on the mediums, going from pole position, I think that's going to be really interesting. We'll have to see how it compared to Zalagianis on the run down to turn 1. Of course, the P2 drivers on the soft, so it could be a bit of a drag race. Got the last few cars filing in though, and well, let's all wait and see what happens, shall we?
Oh, I'm very excited.
As the final cars are coming on onto the starting grid, we are getting ready for these things. The light should pop up soon.
Anytime now.
Atmosphere is so tense you could cut it with a cricket stump. This right. Oh.
As the lights are going on, we've got 5 red lights. And they're off and we go. Van Vukas gets an okay start. However, I believe that is Zalagianis has got a better start. Parikian looking like he's got one. Attack mode is being used by all of them. Zalagianis going into turn 1 has got Van Vukas. Van Vukas currently P2. However, there's another driver. I think that's Attila Molnar who's trying to sneak it through. He tried to, but he didn't make it. Oliver Parikian currently going into P2. Both using their attack mode. Van Vukas loses out heavily.
Yeah, there we go. So Van Vukas on the harder tyre, really not getting the same getaway as those around him. And Parikian free to chase after championship leader George Zalagianis, who's made an excellent start himself.
Yeah,
yes.
Great start. Sorry for cutting you off there, Tobias, but great start there from Zalagianis and Parikian. Van Vukas, though, of course, it may look disastrous on paper. You've got to remember he's on the medium tyres. Come the back end of this race, he'll be on fresh softs. On a light fuel road, it will be advantage him, but for now, he's just going to stick with these cars in front. Bit of a lock-up there, I think, from Parikian, heading into the hairpin. And look at that Molnar as well now, on the back of Van Vukas, trying to see if he can find a way through the pole sitter in the 20 car as they head down the back end of the circuit. Of course, no DRS just yet as we come up to one of the long straights that we have here. Of course, this back stretch and the long front stretch as well, but no DRS till lap 2. And of course, the DRS regulations this year slightly changed as well. It's slightly different from normal. It's now 0.7 seconds is the gap you have to be to the car in front to get your DRS, but it is slightly more powerful. But as we go onto the main straight, lap 1, the first lap of the race, led by Zalagianis here for the Malaysian Grand Prix in the Academy Series. From Parikian, from your pole sitter Van Vukas in P3, I think Molnar must have made a mistake coming through the last corner because it's not gone his way. He's dropped back about half a second on Van Vukas. Bit of a move going on here. One of the valet cars having someone dive up to the inside. That's Plata Morlato, I believe, as they go through in a few more places, being traded further back in the pack as well. That's another one of the valet cars losing places. Vagapov's coming to the pits as well. Jablonski and Brantham also in Jones in as well. So I wonder if there's been an incident further back. So we've got a few cars diving into the pits on lap 1. That's never what we want to see. With a few cars squeezing this way and that way. That was Moynier going off the road, coming out of turn 4. But yeah, I wonder if we've had an incident. Yeah, Tobias, I'm just not sure, because, we're seeing a lot of cars down the back of the grid coming into the pits, a few of the really fast guys as well. And the 9-second pit stop there for Peter Vagov. He must have taken repairs, so something's clearly happened here.
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, it's the start of the race. Peter Vagov, has he left the pits yet? I'm not sure.
He has, yes. Scott Flack also got taken out in that first lap in an incident because there was a yellow in Sector 2 and he's out of the race now.
Interesting. Oh, there you go. Instance on that one. It wasn't looking like it was going to be clean. It wasn't clean. But, that's sim racing feel, unfortunately. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. Accidents are inevitable. And it will be lap 3 in a short moment's time. And that's when the DRS gets enabled. And this is where Van Vukas is trying to squeeze around the outside of Parikian. He will have the momentum onto the main straight, drawing alongside the other driver. Look at him almost banging wheels down the front stretch. No DRS. Who's going to get the drag? Who's going to be later on the brakes? It's Van Vukas to the inside, Parikian to the outside. But if Parikian can hold it, then he can switch back into turn 2. He does so. So Van Vukas once again left hanging, and it was close, but not close enough. And but it goes to show that Van Vukas, those medium tyres, are now really starting to get a move on. They're really starting to push. Look at Parikian. He's just holding Van Vukas up through the corners. Van Vukas is so much faster at this stage of the race. You can tell. I'm not sure what's going on. He's on the medium tyres. You'd expect him to be falling backwards, but he's all over the back of Parikian, pushing like a madman. He just can't find a way through. And all the while that they're battling, Zalagianis is now 1.3 seconds ahead of Parikian. He's starting off into the distance.
Yeah, you can really see it. This is a bit of a thing that happened a bit like last round, where we had Wesley Buckhat at the beginning, just pulled a 2-second gap casually in the first 2 laps. However, it's not as big as last time, and Van Vukas has dropped a little. Van Vukas has dropped a little bit back. Also, I'd like to mention, Zaharoff has fallen 10 positions down to P14. That is a huge loss of position for him. What happened to him, actually?
Sure. Yeah, that's a big drop back. Maybe an instant, maybe a mistake. I'm not sure.
Papa Giorgio making a move. Just hit the side of Jared Battaglia, and they're still side by side going down the main straight, Ross.
Yeah, indeed. Seeing a lot of moves being held around the outside, around the final corner at the moment. Seems to be a spot where there's a lot of grip down, almost banging wheels. So late on the brakes, the pair of them into turn 1. You can brake so late there in modern Formula cars, and it really is who's got the biggest bravery out the pair of you if you're going into turn 1 side by side. But there's a line between brave and stupid. Of course, you don't want to be braking too late that you're going straight on or climbing over the back of your opponent as you don't make the corner. Yellow flag out in Sector 2. It's gone as quickly as it came. Giannis Llanos trying to look for a way past Silviera as well in the valet car. And again, just getting held up. A lot of drivers just can't seem to find a way through. Kuala Lumpur, it's not a track that is particularly great for overtaking for much of the circuit. Yes, you have those heavy braking zones down into the fast corner. Jablonski there with the new fastest lap of the race. Or the heavy brakes are down into turn 1 here as well into this hairpin. But there's a lot of high, medium speed corners that you're just stuck following the cars behind, getting that dirty air, ruining your tyres as well, just overheating your front tyres as you're struggling, you're scrambling for grip. And it's just really, it's not the best track in the world for racing, but if you can make it work, you can pull off some spectacular overtakes. We've been seeing a few people try and stick it around the outside into the final corner. That's a car. Is that Moynier in the gravel in the background? Yes, it was, but back to the action. Further back, this is Fabrice Mistral, and a big look. Oh my goodness me! Was that Thomas? That Mistral? My goodness me! Thomas locked up, got sideways somehow. He's locked up again and off the road. I think Thomas may be having problems here. I think that's something wrong with that car because it was not looking happy under the brakes. As Van Vukas once again on the back of Parikian. This is potentially a really good opportunity. He's going to have to go the long way round into turn 4. Parikian is a lot later on the brakes, locks up slightly, but manages to hold onto the positions. Papa Giorgio getting close as well to Attila Molnos. You've got this situation it seems, Ed, where you've got the kind of just cars stuck behind other cars, and they've got the pace to get through, but just can't find the gap.
Yeah, you sort of end up with this kind of concertina effect as Van Vuke is struggling to pass Parakan, backs him into Molnar, Molnar being backed up into Papa Giorgio. Papa Giorgio is actually having a really good race at the moment in terms of all the ground effect cars sandwiching the other cars in between them to sort of try and make progress through the field. But certainly as Van Vukas goes really wide, and that could give an opportunity to Molnar behind him.
Yeah, really could there. Yeah, also, as to what Ed was saying, it feels like a bit of an accordion effect, doesn't it? You're just getting backed further and further, you're just getting backed into each other, which just like spreads, like just closes up the gap, like just like an accordion if you think about it. But no, as Attila Molnar currently got DRS, going down into the final corner, probably there's the two best overtaking positions, which is the last and the first corner. Now, is he close enough to do a move into turn 1? That's the big question that we're waiting for now. Don't think so unless he wants to do a kamikaze dive bomb, which I thought he was going to do it, but he didn't. No, so Ross, what do you think? Where do you think the most overtakes are going to come here?
Well, I think it's this race is going to turn into a game of strategy. I think we as the race goes on, especially, and you see those drivers starting on the mediums as they go onto the softs, I think that's going to be a big crucial turning point in the race. But I think it's all about carrying the speed from that final corner down the main straight into turn 1. Because if you can get the overtake into turn 1, you've essentially got the move done because they can't get back past you. So it's very much a rhythm circuit, is Kuala Lumpur. It's very much you've got to build up to the overtake. You can't just spot an opportunity and go for it. You need to work for the overtake. Realistically, you need to be making the overtake almost 4 corners before you do, because you have to set it up. It's a bit of a weird concept. Of course, if anyone's ever driven around Kuala Lumpur, you'll understand what I mean. For those that haven't, it's hard to put into words, really. You've just got to really build up, and mentally you've got to get the overtake done. You've just got to set your car up to get the overtake done, a few corners before you can do it. So it'll be interesting to see what the drivers can do into turn 1. Now with the DRS as well available, and of course you've got some drivers using their attack modes. That is the push to pass system that this Formula Pro car has. Of course, you get 60 seconds worth of push to pass as Smith gets very close to the back of Remus there. 60 seconds of push to pass gives you an extra 55 horsepower when you have it activated. And heading down the back straight, Thomas Smith. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the course of the race.
Indeed, and a little shout out, by the way, to Liam Howard. Didn't have the best qualifying. He's climbed down from about 16th, 17th on the grid up into the top 10. As we look at this battle on screen. Oh, look at this! My goodness, Vitala being overtaken by Silviera in the ground effect, who's now having a go at is that a lapped car next to them, or is that Lianos?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been a lapped car, but we'll have to wait and see. I think it would have been... No, it wasn't. It was Lianos. I do apologize.
So Lianos got past Silviera and Batalla. That was a really great couple of corners by him then. So apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's great stuff from Lianos. They're getting through. So, clearly he's looking like he's suddenly got some pace on board that wagon. But still a long way left to go in this race. Only lap 7 of 34 here in Kuala Lumpur. And of course, if you are watching along with the stream, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and the like button if you have not already. Of course, a lot of effort goes into organising the Formula SimRacing Championships, broadcasting on, putting on these races for you. These drivers, they've put in countless hours of practice to bring you some great racing action today. And of course, that racing action is going to continue all through the afternoon because the racing does not end here. No, of course, we have the Pro Series, we have the World Championship to look forward to after these races as well. So your support would be greatly appreciated by everybody involved here at the FSR team. A whole host of people using push to pass down the front stretch this time. Looking back, Batalla with the DRS.
Oh, that's
3 wide into turn 1. Oh my goodness me! Costas Van Vukas slams the door. I think that was Papa Giorgio that he slammed the door on. But that was very, very close. I'm not sure if that was just the camera angle. Now he's banging wheels with Attila Molnar the whole way around turn 3. Molnar's going to have the position on the inside. Who breaks later? Attila Molnar. That is bravery personified right there. Costas Van Vukas drops the 4th place on that medium run. But Attila Molnar banging wheels with the pole sitter the whole way down that straight. And finally gets the position. It finally pays off. A little bit of bravery A little bit of, excuse me, I'm coming through there. And that was a brilliant, brilliant move. And now Van Vukas as well, potentially coming under pressure from Papageorgiou. He was a few corners ago. Let's see if Papageorgiou can keep up the pace. Oh, no, he's not, because it's a big, big slide on the exit of the corner. Manages to hold it, but will lose half a second. And now Papageorgiou's setting his eyes back in defence as well. Batala, meanwhile, looking for Silveira in front in the number 3 Royal Blue car. You can see Silveira in the valet car sliding a little bit through those high-speed corners. The ground effect maybe just not quite working. Obviously, these cars, a lot of downforce is generated by the floors of these cars, but that can just switch off if you hit a curb wrong, if you hit a bump wrong, if you just hit a corner wrong. Suddenly that downforce can just disappear, and you all see in terms of grip. Batala will have the DRS coming down this front stretch, but it's not a great launch out of the final corner. He is using his push to pass, but I don't think he's going to be close enough when you consider that Silveira has the DRS in front of him as well. And no, they maintain position for the time being.
And look who's behind him, Ross. It's Liam Howard.
Indeed, it is Liam Howard. So Liam Howard slowly creeping up, slowly getting there. Batala with his eyes forward, but now his eyes going to be looking backwards as well. Just checking his mirrors coming into the corners, maybe feeling a little bit nervous. You don't really want to be in the middle of a sandwich, as he seems to be here. Trying to get through in front. You're trying not to lose your position behind you as well. It is very, very difficult to keep up your pace there. And I've seen a lot of dust being kicked up at the exit of that corner. It's one thing I've noticed through this race. Drivers really pushing the track limits here at Kuala Lumpur, really trying to go as wide as they can to try and carry as much speed as they can. Batala a little bit wide there, just misses the apex. That could open a potential opportunity for Howard behind. He has lost not quite a second, but a decent amount of time. Silveira in front. Attila Molnar, meanwhile, is very, very close to the back of Parikian. I wonder if Parikian's made a mistake, because Zalagianis has shot into the distance. Parikian is now under pressure from Molnar, who's now under pressure from Van Vukas, Tobias.
Yeah, he is. He's going as we go into the final corner here. Attila Molnar trying it down the inside. However, this is going to keep him vulnerable. Parikian's gone into the pits now.
That was a smart move by Oliver there.
Yeah, it was. However, Van Vukas is now right on the rear end of Attila Molnar. Will he try and move into turn 1, or will he try into turn 4? I think it is, yeah. Looking at it, Rick's really late now. Can he get the car stopped? Yes, he can. Get it through the snake. Out of the corner. Good exit from both of them. Slight twitch from Attila Molnar. That's opened the door for Van Vukas.
Molnar's really going to have to hold the inside here.
Will he dive it down the inside? No, he doesn't. Stays behind. He's going to have to stay behind through the quick S's now, which is not a very pleasant feeling. I think a lot of people that have driven this in a race know how it feels to be stuck behind through these two S's. It's not very comfortable, is it?
Paracan has just emerged down in 13th, by the way, on another set of mediums. So the mediums starting to come into their own here as Van Vukas, after struggling a little bit in that opening stint, really, getting into a huge battle, is now starting to just inch forward and looks a little bit stronger at this phase of the race. I think you might agree, guys.
Yeah, I think we agree. Van Vukas is slowly coming into his own. However, I think he's lost a little bit too much time to Zalagianis, who's had a perfect race up front. We haven't seen anything of him, have we?
No, it's almost the opposite of Imola, where he was able to slipstream from third to get to the front, and here he's got the front at the start, and he's not really been too troubled, although he's just been managing things brilliantly, hasn't he? As Papageorgiou starting to get a double slipstream from his teammate and Molnar in front of him.
Yeah, as we go into the final corner now, though, Van Vukas could have a shot. He's going to have DRS, and it has opened now. Going into turn 1, however, Attila Molnar, has got the inside line. However, Van Vukas trying it round the outside. He's got the edge of him. He has cut him off. However, he's now going to have the inside for turn 2. Has he got him? Yes, he has. Brilliant move from Kostas Van Vukas there. He has lost a bit of pace, though, going out of turn 2. Now, Satiris Papageorgiou is also looking like he wants to have a piece of the cake that Van Vukas has eaten now, doesn't he?
Yeah, this looks like a very tasty cake indeed, as Papageorgiou looks for another bite and almost hits the rear wheel of Molnar. But Attila Molnar thankfully gets away unscathed there, and it just felt like Van Vukas had so much grip around the outside at turn 1 on the mediums there.
Yeah, very, very close between the pair of them. And, well, we've seen a few close calls today. Another one to the ever-growing list. Lap 11 of 34 here in Kuala Lumpur. And Papageorgiou, again, getting very close to the back of Molnar, just unable to quite make the move. And, under the brakes, he seems to be a lot better, but just can't get the traction up the corner, can't get close enough. But he will have the DRS, of course. The DRS regulations have been changed for this season of the Formula SimRacing Championships. It's now DRS is only activated within 0.7 seconds of the car in front instead of 1 second, but it is much more powerful, and that, I think, is what we're going to see from Papageorgiou right now. He pulls to the inside, coming into the final corner. This should be easy on the brakes, but unless Molnar can hang on round the outside, he cannot. Papageorgiou pulls in front. He'll still have the DRS as well, but now Molnar with the double slipstream. So can he respond? No, I don't think he can. Papageorgiou defends to the inside, side by side, into turn 1. I think Papageorgiou will have P3. He does indeed for the time being. A great move there. Up into the podium positions he goes, as Parikian there with the fastest lap of the race, 134.976, the first driver into the 134s. Molnar, can he respond? Not into turn 4, he can't. I think he's just going to need a lap or two to reset, get his head back in the game, and then he can set his sights forwards again. Zalagianis, meanwhile, 4.5 seconds ahead of Van Vukas now. I'm expecting that gap to start falling now that the softs are starting to kind of run out of their prime grip territory. They're starting to get towards that cliff. They're starting to drop off on the mediums that Van Vukas is on. They'll be good to go a lot further into the race. And one thing to consider as well for Van Vukas is when he goes onto the softs in the second phase of the race, is he will be able to push those softs harder, and he'll be able to go longer on those softs as well, because he'll have less fuel on board the car. So the car will be lighter, so he can use more of the tyre without risk of damaging them. So that's another thing to take into account for Van Vukas as well, is he can push harder when he's on the softs than when these guys who are currently on the softs are pushing now. So I think that Van Vukas, after a great pole time, I think he's definitely the driver to keep your eye on as we're approaching, kind of about, we're a third into the race, just over a third into the race. I think as we're, beginning to look to the halfway point, I think he's the driver that you want to have your eye on, because I think he'll be the one that is definitely going to be the raciest come the end. Istvan Singal potentially having a look at Attila Molnar here after Molnar lost that position to Papageorgiou, unable to make the move, and gets held up at the exit of turn 2 as well. Through the big turn 3, is he going to be able to have a dive bomb here? It'd be risky. He looks anyway, but he doesn't go for it. I mean, Tobias, you're a much more experienced racer than I am. That would have been a bit of a suicidal move. He'd have gone for that one.
Well, I'm nowhere near as experienced as Tobias, but I think I would agree. Yeah, that was a single, maybe discretion, the better part of valor there for the ground effect driver, and he's certainly of the 4 at the front, he's the one sort of in the back trying to clear the royal blue driver ahead of him so he can join the party, really. But Single having a decent run so far, and Parakin, we were watching earlier, after his pit stop, climbed from 13th to 10th, but now he's got a big gap in front of him to Batala, and it's all the guys ahead of him who haven't stopped yet. So Parakin, Single really gets a twitch on through the high speed sort of S there near the end of the lap, and just about saves it. But that puts him into the clutches of Lianos, not far behind in the other ground effect car.
All the ground effect.
They're all near the front as well. I really feel that ground effect have got the setup spot on here in Malaysia.
Yeah, they really seem to do, and it's really showing. The only currently the only non ground effect car in the top 5 is Laszlo Molnar in P4. But that must be strange, having it's like a double sandwich effect, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a bit of a weird situation that he finds himself in. Well, moving onwards anyway, lap 14 of 34 here. Of course, the second round of the 2022 FSR Championships. Of course, you're watching the Academy race right now. But don't be going anywhere, because after this we'll of course have the pro race and then the World Championship race, where all the biggest and best names in sim racing come together to duke it out. But don't let that take away from the quality of this grid. This is still a very, very fine grid of drivers that we're seeing before you. maybe the academy. It's maybe much bit more of a proving ground than the World Championship, shall we say? But there's that
Single gets
getting
a twitch on
big
again.
wobble. We've
He's
seen
chewing
that
through these
before.
tyres.
Seen that before from Single, but this time Lianos makes him pay as he squeezes up the inside, and that's maybe the third or fourth time we've seen that from Istvan Single coming through. That hairpin just gets his foot down way too early, loses the back end. You know, it's a slow speed corner. The downforce isn't going to be working, and we've seen that time and time again. And as you said, Ed, he's going to be chewing through those tyres. I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe dives into the pits this lap. I certainly would be. No, he's deciding to stay out. Fair enough. He is very close to Lianos, to be fair. He will get the DRS. You can see there the DRS activated as he heads down into turn 1. Will he try a last-minute dive bomb? No, he doesn't. So he stays behind. Bit of a lock-up from Lianos. And Single actually has to avoid Lianos in front to avoid going over the back of Lianos, taking him out of the race.
Just wanted to cut in Papa Giorgio's pit, and he's exited behind Perikian. So Perikian is still a huge part of this race as he's pit much earlier, getting a huge undercut. However, I still think, Zalagianis has had a nice comfortable lead. However, he probably might exit behind Perikian, who's 6 seconds ahead of Papa Giorgio. And remember, Papa Giorgio is like right behind him, so that could be a gap between him and Perikian, which means that Zalagianis might have to do another hunt down to get another win, won't he?
Indeed, this is really where time management comes into play, because Van Vukas, interestingly on his mediums, has closed on Zalagianis on his soft. It was over 4 seconds earlier, the gap now 3.8. Or slightly below that, actually, on screen.
Yeah, he is closing, if slowly. I think it'll be when Zalagianis comes into the pits. I think that'll be when it's Van Vukas' time to shine. I think he's not quite making the ground up that he would quite want to be honest. I don't think the pace is quite where he'd like it to be. We'll have to see. We are not yet halfway through this race. Of course, there's still time for Zalagianis to go longer. But that again, if Zalagianis can go halfway on the soft tyres, I think that was Lianos coming into the pits there. Yes, it was. And Molnar's coming as well. So Molnar and Lianos both into the pit lane.
And Lianos started on the mediums as well, so I thought he'd actually saved his tyres better than Single, as we see Single locking up again at turn 1, now running third. So, interesting strategy there.
The tyres on this, sorry to cut you across there, Tobias, but the tyres on these Formula Pro cars, they are weird almost, because it's actually more about keeping your tyre in the operating window than it is to be worried about wear, because you can run these tyres down quite a long way before it has a real impact on your lap times. It's more about keeping the tyres in the operating window. So the drivers that are better than that, better at that, they can take the tyres a long way. So you see drivers like Zalagianis, for example, who's gone a long way on those soft tyres. He's running them almost halfway, and he's going to have not very far to go on the medium, so he can really push those mediums. He's just keeping them in the operating temperature, keeping those tyres happy, and you can take them quite a long way. So it's an interesting strategy, because you do get stuff like this where you'd expecting Van Vukas to this race to be in the palm of his hand. He's actually losing time to Zalagianis at the moment. I don't know if that means Zalagianis is about to come in and he's setting a hot lap on his way in, but Van Vukas really should be gaining on those mediums.
And meanwhile, Liam Howard also doing a great job on the soft tyres, but with Jared Batala in a similar strategy, also right behind him as the leader pits.
Yeah, I think the pit window is now solidly opened. Zalagianis right in the pits. I'm really interested to see where he exits. So, but no, Kostas Van Vukas gets back to the lead. Now, let's see where he exits. It's all important about Perikian, isn't it? Where is Perikian? There's Perikian. It's really close. Oof, just got him. 2 seconds between them. However, Zalagianis is on like 8-ish laps tyres, which are 8 lap younger tyres. There we go, I can say it now. So no, that's going to be a huge difference in pace now between these two. So it wouldn't surprise me if Zalagianis gets up to him in like a few seconds, in like 2-3 laps, and overtakes them.
Look at that lap by Harvick down in 14th, setting the timing screen on like 1:34.7 on the soft tyres. He's pit within the last couple of laps, so that really shows what the fastest guys are doing, but that's not necessarily the best strategy as we go to a replay. Oh no. This is a new overlay. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think we're just updating the screen for you there. Anyway, as we continue to head round, Van Vukas maintain that lead now after Zalagianis boxes. So the question that's on my mind, guys, is when does Van Vukas box? How far can he take these medium tyres through? You can see now that most of the top guys are on the mediums. Giannis has gone onto the hards, which is a bit weird. Wouldn't expect that from him. So obviously maybe some struggles with the tyre wear for his car. Yeah, Van Vukas, when does he box for the softs?
Also, sort of cut in there, but it looks like Zalagianis is looking like he's going to make a move on Oliver Parikian round the outside of turn 1, the more preferred move, and he's got him before the corner. That new tyre, got the word, but the new tyre thing is really
the
helped him,
delta
hasn't it?
or the offset. Is that what you're thinking of, Tobias? Yeah.
Advantage is what I was meaning, but yeah, the new tyre advantage is really helping him, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, I think Oliver Parikian chewed for his tyres to try and gain track position and is now realising, I need to save tyres for later in the race now. So he decided not to fight Zalagianis too hard there. And Zalagianis able to sweep round the outside. We saw that a couple of times earlier, didn't we? With Van Vukas did it as well on Molnar. So definitely the ground effect guys having the confidence under braking and the tyre life to pull those kind of moves off. And now Zalagianis sets out after his title rival Liam Howard, who is yet to pit.
Yeah, indeed. So as the race now firmly enters its second phase, it's all about the tyres, and it's all about who can do what, taking what tyres where. Has your strategy paid out? You never know. You could be seeing that is a huge dive.
Howard had to brake so early there.
Wow, what a move! That was opportunistic, wasn't it? Dives up the inside of Howard.
That's Howard with no tyres left as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was I think that was a last-minute decision there from Zalagianis. And, well, yeah, you can see Howard does indeed come into the pits, so Parikian gains the place. But Zalagianis, that was an amazing move there to go move up into what was P5 at the time before the drivers came into the box.
That felt to me like he was just reacting there, that how he didn't expect Howard to brake that early. He just sort of cut to the inside. Let's turn this into an overtake. Also, but Howard crucially losing out to Gerard Battala there, who was behind him for quite a long part of that stint, and Battala just catching him at the end there.
Also, Van Vukas is losing considerable amounts of pit time to Zalagianis. I think Zalagianis has gained about 4-ish seconds, and Parikian's actually keeping up with Zalagianis. So Parikian could still be a factor in this race, although his tyres are quite a bit older than his. That is still a focus. That is still a participant in the winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Van Vukas, he's got to come in soon. I mean, the rubber. I don't think he's gone on the right strategy here. I mean, I could be wrong again. I'm not one of these drivers. I'm not out on track there. I'm just sitting in my room talking about pretend racing cars. But for me, I'm not convinced that that's the right strategy. He's getting the help of some DRS with some back markers at the moment, but I'm just not sure. Moynier there getting past Nunes with relative ease. I think Nunes, that was either letting him through or making a mistake coming out of the hairpin. And I think actually Van Vukas has come in, maybe, or is that not? Nope, maybe. Yes, he has. Yes. So Van Vukas in from the lead of the race.
It's like he was listening to you, Russ.
Well, I saw one of the cars diving in on the mini map, and I wasn't sure if it was Van Vukas or not. But he comes in, goes onto the soft compounded tyres, I believe. Zalagianis gets by. Parikian gets by. Single does get by. Papa Giorgio gets by even because singles come in. Molnar gets by. Lianos gets by. So Van Vukas has got it all cut out for him. He's on the soft compounded tyre, yes, but he's got 14 laps and a long, long way to go. Oh, and suddenly Van Vukas has got a long way to go. It's a big uphill struggle, this battle.
I have faith for Van Vukas though. He had a good qualifying lap, and I think he'll do good in the race. Although Lianos, again, I don't understand why he's on the hard tyres. They don't seem. It's a bit of a questionable thing. Although it did work in Imola, I don't think it'll work on this track. But no, Van Vukas obviously has the advantage on soft tyres. Although again, I'm not convinced that's the right strategy. However, we will see shortly if I'm proven wrong or not, won't we, Ed?
Yeah, and Lianos looks like he's really being stuck behind Attila Molnar here at this phase with those green harder tyres. He's not able to cut inside of him. And now Van Vukas is closing rapidly, so Grand Effect need to make a decision here. Do they want the cars to crash or race cleanly?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think Grand Effect will probably just ask. I think Lianos could be a.
Oh, well, that's one way of getting out of the way. Dive right into the gravel.
Exactly. It's a way.
Oh, I don't think he intended to go that far in.
That's a shame for Lianos. He was doing really well up to now. I mean, he's luckily not lost a position, and singles right behind him. Then we got Silvera, and then 2 seconds behind that is Loic Meunier. However, that's a bit of an unfortunate thing. But now we've got Van Vukas behind Laszlo Molnar going down into turn 1. He's got the inside line. Usually not the thing. He's got him before the straight. A bit like what Zalogyanis did to Oliver Perikian. No, Ross? Don't you agree, Ross?
Yeah, I think so. As you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the remaining course of the race. Of course, lap 21 of 34. We are now getting into the beginning of the closing stages. 28 cars left running here at round 2 of the Formula SimRacing 2022 Academy Championship. Of course, if you are watching along, it's a pleasure to have you here for the race in Kuala Lumpur, the Malaysian Grand Prix. We should hopefully be having a replay of what happened just a few moments ago. And maybe it seems like the replay is having a moment. There we go, it's working now. Here is Lianos coming through the last few sections. And just yet locks up the right front. Doesn't make the corner, and onto the gravel he goes. And almost into the barrier as well. Obviously, in real life, to be fair, it's that was probably the best route to do without beaching the car. In sim racing, you can't really beach your car, so he probably could have been a bit more aggressive than that, but he's dropped down the order.
Valet just getting off track out of the way there.
Yeah, just turned it. Oh, and I was like, hey.
Sorry about that. Again, ridiculously excited over the tiniest of things.
Lianos really didn't have the best corner there. And I mean, I personally wouldn't have gone over the gravel like that, but because I mean, obviously in real life, you would have gone over the grass there. Also, I just want to say I love NetRex's thing with Howard, how they just say how on the halo. I love that detail. I just wanted to point that out. Good job, NetRex. But no, Lianos, that's a bit of a rookie error, I have to say. However, Van Vukas is right on the edge, going round the outside into turn 4. Does it perfectly. Brilliant move from Van Vukas, really showing a state of intent. That's P2, Perikian. He could get Zalogyanis, couldn't he? He's gained a huge chunk of time.
134.1 the last lap for Van Vukas, 135.8 the last lap for Zalogyanis. So certainly those soft tyres working extremely well. Van Vukas just needs to be careful. He doesn't wear them out too much, fighting Perikian and Molnar in the past couple of laps.
However, he has got free. He's got clean air now, which means that he's not going to be too affected by things. And Zalogyanis does have a back marker. I believe that's Sophie Jones he's got in front of him. She's going to have to get out of the way quite quickly, though, isn't she?
Yeah, indeed. And the Valet's not having the best of races, it must be said. We did just see Liam Howard passing Loic Meunier to get back into the top 10. So a decent little work by Howard as he goes off to chase Gerard Battaglia.
Yeah, again, but Van Vukas really catching now, about 3.5 seconds. That gamble from starting on the medium times is starting to pay off now, isn't it, Ross?
Yeah, indeed. He's up to P2, and it's...
Look at him weaving!
What?
Was that Zalogyanis weaving?
It was Zalogyanis weaving. Is there someone in the pit lane there? Don't know who it is. Doesn't matter.
Perikian.
Yeah, Perikian's in the pits. Zalogyanis, maybe he went off and had dirty tyres. Maybe they're not quite warm enough. I don't know, but it's not often you see someone...
It must be his... apologies to cut you in there, Ross. It's just I think he might have boxed a bit too early and didn't know that you could do a one-stop. As we've got Lianos right behind Silvera here, going down into turn 4. Will he have the pace? He's a bit far for this move, isn't he?
And look how much Van Vukas is close to get 133.9 on that last lap. That was a whole 4 seconds faster than Zalogyanis. He's a sitting duck right now. No wonder he's weaving all over the track. Trying to keep some temperature in those tyres, perhaps?
Oh, it's below 2 seconds. I'd assume. It's, Van Vukas he's flying at the moment. I mean, I don't think anyone anticipated the softs having this much pace. I certainly didn't when I said I don't think he's on the right strategy here. He is closing, and Zalogyanis, I think it's not a matter of if but when he loses the lead of the race to the pole sitter. I mean, just look at how much pace he's got. He's just flying at the moment, and Zalagianis is just going to be sitting, looking in his mirrors, and getting quite nervous, I think, because he just sees Van Vukas getting closer and closer. And
it's clear that Van Vukas, sorry to cut across you, but Van Vukas is very confident on the soft tyres, like we saw in qualifying. So this is clearly his preferred tyre to be on.
Yeah, it's less than 2 seconds now, and Van Vukas is really closing in now. It's a bit of like it's a bit different to like when Wesley Buckhout went onto the soft tyres. I just couldn't get them warmed up in Imola. The mediums were the tyres to be on last time. It looks like it's been completely reversed. The soft starters were much quicker at the beginning, and now it's sort of paid off for the medium starters, hasn't it? As currently got Oliver Perikian going around the outside of Harvick, and there's also like Meunier behind them, who could also be a bit of a third person in their battle. As we've got Perikian around the outside beautifully of Harvick there, isn't it?
Yeah, Perikian on his fresh tyres, making use of them to once again climb back up the order. He's now got to chase after Liam Howard for 9th. But certainly that extra stop, meaning Perikian's got more work to do, really. But like Van Vukas, cutting through the field quite quickly, and we see Van Vukas has got the gap to under a second to his teammate now.
He's within DRS range soon, actually. I think he'll get it within... I think he might get it at the end of this lap, although I think he's just that 1 inch too far.
And there's not much Zalagianis can really do here, because if he picks now...
my words. Zalagianis... Never mind, he's out of it. He was in it for a little portion, but not when it counted. Yeah, no, he doesn't have DRS, as you can see on the MFDs of his steering wheel. You cannot see that he's got DRS on. However, I think for this straight, he will have it now. Yeah, I think it's confirmed. He will have it going into turn 1. As we see Sophie Jones get out of the way. Very well done from her. Going into turn 1, Van Vukas has got DRS. Will he try and dive bomb into the corner, or will he wait for the turn 4 overtake that a lot of times? He's trying into turn 1 with a huge dive bomb. Zalagianis keeps the door open, leaves Van Vukas some space going into turn 2. He's trying it for the better exit. Has he got a good exit from him? Van Vukas now going to slipstreaming in. Does he have that little extra speed, top speed going into turn 4? No, he doesn't.
He sensibly backs off there. That could have been a huge dive bomb, maybe the switchback as well. Look how hard Van Vukas is pushing. The back end stepping out absolutely everyone. Look how much grip he has, even with the dirty air through these high speed 5th gear corners. This is quite easy, I think, for Van Vukas. He's got up to the back of Zalagianis, who's on the older mediums. He's on the fresher soft, so it's he's waiting. I think he's almost playing with Zalagianis, to be honest. He's just waiting to try and get the move. Well, I don't want to sound rude, he's almost slightly overdriving the car, actually, because he's sliding just a little bit this way and that way, just getting the throttle down. But look how close he is this time. He's going to have, and that is someone else going off the road as well. Papa Giorgio. Another mistake from Papa Giorgio coming out of the hairpin. He still slides back up the inside of Silveira and then gets onto the gravel. And that was that. Back to the battle for the lead, though. Van Vukas, he won't be close enough for a go into the final hairpin, but look how close he is. He'll have the DRS, he'll have the traction out of the final corner. This should be easy. DRS wide open all the way up to 7th gear, pulls to the outside. He's going to be late on the brakes. It should be no. Does Zalagianis try and fight back up the inside? Van Vukas holds it round the outside, but into turn 2 he takes the lead of the race once again. And the alternate strategy, which at one point looked like it was the wrong one to be on, has brought him back to the lead, which he hasn't held since the lights went out. And he's got 8 laps left to go on fresh soft rubber, and it's Van Vukas with a brilliant overtake. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, that was just...
Oh, go.
Thank you. Yeah, that was just a really solid move by Van Vukas. Just used his tyre advantage and just did it. Now he has to keep that lead for another 8 laps. Let's see how his tyres do for the next few laps, doesn't he? He's also gotten Zalagianis out of DRS range, which is a key thing he needs to do. He's actually nearly done it over to nearly a second, hasn't he, there?
Yes, and I think Van Vukas leading the way on strategy, because we saw Meunier and Harvick just pit a few laps ago, because they're seeing what the pace Van Vukas has got and thought, we need to be on the softs right now, and we get a few more points out of this race than we would otherwise. So certainly the softs are the ones to be on, and Zalagianis Really just going to have to hold on to second here. But still great points for his championship if he can get to the end of this one.
Yeah, indeed. Not long left to go now here for round 2 of the FSR 2022 Academy Championship. And Van Vukas, well, we're now really just about bringing it home. He doesn't need to bother pushing. He's got the lead. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He just needs to come home now. Dalgianis in tow on those worn mediums. Well, what a performance we've seen from Van Vukas today. You know, as he's heading around, I mean, he's already gained like half a second through the opening section, through 2 corners. That's how much grip he has. He doesn't even look like he's pushing particularly hard anymore now that he's got the move done. And he's just, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. It's been a brilliant drive on those softs. I think they've been faster than anybody anticipated.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah, and he's just flying at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Van Vukas, I really surprised me, especially from last week's strategies, where I think it was the mediums that were just that touch better in the first stint, but pretty bad in the second stint. Then weren't they, Ross?
Yeah, they were of course similar. It's another high degradation track. Oh, that was as I say that, Van Vukas I think was getting a bit sideways there, coming through the final section, but he still maintains the lead. Imola it's another high degradation track, but it is different in the terms of how it's degradation. Imola, there's high degradation because it's a very active circuit. You're going up, you're going down. There's just corner after corner after corner. Kuala Lumpur's high degradation because it's warm and it's all high speed, high downforce stuff, heavy braking zones. As Remet was, I want to say, was trying to look for a move to the inside of Platt there, but he was so far back that would have been, well, it wouldn't even have been a move. It would have just been crashing into him. So it's 2 very high degradation tracks, but 2 tracks which are very different in the reasons why the tyres degrade, how the tyres degrade. And on the subject of the tyres degrading, look at Remet's tyres. That front left especially really isn't looking too good, is it? Lots of graining going on, but with the DRS open, slides past Dylan Platt, no problem whatsoever, heading down the back straight. And that will be P13 for the NetRex driver. That being said, yeah, Platt down the inside with the switchback, gets back in front.
Yeah, he wasn't great on the traction on the exit. It seems like you say, the degradation may be playing a part here. So the hards not really giving great performance, but still giving great traction and grip and stability for the TR Motorsports of Dylan Platt. So a good fight back there, and this could run and run.
The hards are always a bit of a strange compound for me. I'm not a big fan of using them much. Oh, that's a bit aggressive there from both of the drivers. As Remits goes on the grass. Oh, there's going to be contact. This reminds me of the Daytona 24 final lap where they were going a bit overly aggressive at the end, and we had that contact in the end. I thought they were going to have an accident there. We'd have to comment on how one of them got forced off the track. So, no, luckily that didn't happen. However, Remits, I think that was a bit excessive from both of the drivers, a bit of over excessive from, just a bit too much. Just a bit too much for both of them.
It was a little desperate, wasn't it? But we'll have to see what Dylan Platt thinks about that afterwards. But I'm sure he won't be too happy that his rival got past him there. But anyway, now seems like as good a time as any, just before the race ends, to plug our sponsors, of course. VCR. Oh, no, some on-track action. Molnar attacking Singsel for third. Oh, and here we go. Another move at turn 4, but had to back out of that one at the last minute there. And Singsel holding on gamely as Molnar twitches on exit. The mediums not giving as good performance to build up all that, get that ground back again and give it another go. He's only got 5 more laps.
As Ross says, we should probably plug our sponsors. So yeah, big thank you to Masita eSports, 3D Wrap, and then we also have SimLab. So yeah, thank you all, and there's also thank you to our broadcasting partner VCO. So yeah, big thank you to you guys. You make this series possible. So yeah, we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. We also couldn't have done it without you guys, fans. Again, as Ross said earlier in the stream, please subscribe. This would mean a lot to us, guys. We love commentating for you guys. So yeah, no, just please subscribe to us. That'd be awesome. But no, we're coming into the final few laps. P3 is still up for grabs, which I mean, Ground Effect's going to want to have that 1, 2, 3 all, won't they?
Almost certainly. I can't see any reason why they wouldn't.
Fair enough. That's Parikian going down the end. Where will he go? Around the outside or around the outside? They're going to the final corner. Does he have the grip to hold it around there? He actually does. What a move by Oliver Parikian. Plus he'll have DRS because he didn't get ahead of him before the corner, so he's just danced around the outside of Papa Giorgio there. Brilliant move from Oliver Parikian there. Stunning.
Oh, and locked up a little bit for good measure into turn 1, but he's through and free to chase after Lianos on the hard tyres, who should be pretty easy meat for Parikian. So a top 6 looking likely for the Super Venturi driver.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Parikian may have got the strategy wrong, but he's still putting on a great performance and showing, just because, his strategy hasn't gone his way, and his finishing position may not be quite reflective of what he could do. He's showing that he is still a top driver in the Academy Series, and is more than capable out in the field. And another great move from Parikian. Lap 30 of 34 here for round 2. And of course, it's been an interesting round to say the least. We've had crashes, we've had strategy battles here in Kuala Lumpur at a fantastic circuit, which I think is severely underrated, if I say so myself. I know a lot of real life series, well, no major international motorsport series really go there anymore, but it's maintained its popularity in sim racing, to be fair.
I mean, Ross, I think you're actually kind of wrong in that. No offense, but I think MotoGP still race here, actually. There's no real car series that races here.
Which is what I meant. I wasn't sure if MotoGP did still race there. My apologies. I will. Do you know what? I will go and double check the calendar now, because I thought that they didn't anymore as well. But let's have a look.
Getting past Platt as well
they're
now.
Testing here this season, I believe, MotoGP. Yes, Vagapov, gets past Platt. Those hard tyres really falling apart now, aren't they?
Well, I think they're holding together. They're just not giving great performance. So it was a bit of a gamble by TR Motorsports and Dylan Platt, not quite paying out, unfortunately. But they weren't the only ones to go for it. Lianos in 6th also did, and now he's going to take the punishment, really, because Parikian is going to make him pay for putting on those hard tyres with his fresh new softs, although they're already starting to wear slightly after all the pressure he's been putting into them. Parikian going through the tyres, but having to make the extra pit stops. But certainly, like you said, Ross, putting on a fantastic display of overtaking for us.
Also, Ross, they are going to Malaysia. They're going 23rd of October for the MotoGP season there.
Well, turns out that I don't know enough about motorbikes, which is slightly depressing, seeing as how I do also commentate over bike racing. As that is a big dive from Parikian on Lianos, and he's going to have to try and stick it around the outside. That is brave, and that is a brilliant move again by Parikian. He has been amazing these last few laps. What a move, hanging it around the outside on the marbles, and gets it done. Wow, brilliant stuff. Lianos could do nothing there. You saw the gap, he went for the gap, and he made the gap here. Parikian moves up to P6 as these guys go onto lap 32. What a brilliant move. He's been absolutely amazing since that last pit stop. He's just been fantastic.
Lianos has gone down the inside now.
Oh, they hit each other! Oh, he just turned into him there. Almost didn't expect Lianos to be there, but Lianos somehow barging his way back through, and Parikian will not be happy about that at all.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I think that is Parikian's fault. Although, I just wanted to bring up from that last move, which is brilliant. The shirt, I mean, the saying, the cars might not be real, but the racing has fully been internalized by real-life racing driver Jimmy Broadbent's t-shirt merch.
Let's get you to do some extracurricular advertising there, Tobias, for Jimmy Broadbent. I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
I didn't mean to. That was obviously, that is quite a good saying. I must say so myself, and I do quite like using it because it is.
If we're doing extracurricular advertising, if anyone wants to send me £5 for my lunch tomorrow, I'd really appreciate it. But I completely get where you're coming from, Tobias. I know it's a bit of a cheesy phrase, but it is, it's very much a legitimate phrase, and a lot of effort, goes into these races. These guys out there, even in the Academy Series, they're putting in hours upon hours of practice to try and get themselves up to the to be the best, and that's what's different, from modern real life motorsport anyway to modern sim racing is in motorsport you do have testing restrictions, so you kind of get a point where the drivers they've all done the same amount of laps, but in sim racing it isn't. You get drivers who have put in twice as many laps, and you still get drivers who put in no effort whatsoever, and it's still at the front. It's Parikian trying to go around the outside again on Lianos. He's a little bit wider this time. He's going to have to try the switchback, and it's not going to work, I don't think, unless he can poke it up the outside again. Maybe still in the slipstream. That front lift really isn't looking healthy on board the 24 machine, but he's still going to be pushing anyway on the way into turn 4. This is the penultimate lap. He's running out of opportunities to get into P6. He won't be making the move this time by, but as I was saying, I've seen drivers out there who have turned up and often done the minimum amount of practice, because sometimes for races you have to do a certain amount of practice laps to actually be allowed to race. I've seen drivers rock up, do that minimum amount of practice laps, and still be some of the front runners compared to drivers who've done 200, 250 laps. My goodness me, he's almost pushing him through the corner as Parikian. And was NASCAR-style bump drafting going on through there.
Just going to say
as they headed through the hairpin. Lianos on those hards is defending for his absolute life, but Parikian with all the pace in the world. Look how close is Surely with the DRS. He'll be getting through, and he dives to the inside. Is that Molnar off the road in front of him?
No, it's a valet.
Oh, it's a valet car. It's a back marker. We got a bit overexcited then. But the point is, Parikian goes through. He gets the DRS in front.
I'm not sure he's going to have him though. I'm not sure he's going to have him though, because Lianos is going to have the counter DRS now going into turn 1, and that car looks brilliant in the straight. Actually, that's something I have to mention. That ground effect car has been rapid in the straight. As he's going now, he's going again around the outside. Parikian has to have seen him now, but will he go for a dive bomb around the inside? He's going round the outside now. He's cleared him. Has he got him there side by side, so he has to give him the room? He hasn't given the room.
Oh, they're squeezing there. There's only just enough room for them both to get through. But my word, Oliver Parikian was going around the outside, giving himself the hardest job
back
there.
Straight now, I think that he's got one more chance. If he gets the DRS and gets a good move down there, that's where he's going to do it. I bet we're going to see a dive bomb into the last corner, because that's the best position. As we're going through the final few corners, as with the leader, Van Vukas is in the final sector, dominated the second half of the race, didn't he?
Yeah, nothing
indeed.
really anyone around him could really do about that.
As
doing his best, right?
As Parikian might have a move down here. He's trying it around the outside of the hairpin. He might do it, He's still there. No, he doesn't. Just showing how aggressive you get at the end and how desperate you are for that P6. As around the final corner on the 34th lap, we've got Kostas Van Vukas going on for his first race win in the Academy Series this season. Brilliant race from him. Absolutely brilliant. As Zalagianis continues his lead in the championship. Now let us go to the... Now we got Single and Silvera battling. This has gone under the radar, hasn't it?
Yeah, what a great drive by Romelu Silveira. Can he take the podium at the end? No, he just misses out, and Single holds on to make a ground effect 1-2-3.
As Lianos just holds off Oliver Parikian. That is such a good race. That was such good racing by them, wasn't it?
Brilliant stuff from Parikian and Lianos there. Lianos, well, in terms of pace, he had no right to be finishing in that P6, but he defended for his life as Papo Giorgio and Howard come home in P8 and 9. Harvig rounds out the top 10. Parikian, fair play, the strategy, he may have got it wrong, but he was putting on a mighty display. But Lianos, he fought tooth and nail, holding on to that P6 position on those hard tyres. But it is Van Vukas with a drive on the alternate strategy that on paper looked like it was not the strategy to be on, but he made it work. And when he made it work, it was rapid, and he won by something like 5-6 seconds without even going that fast for 10 laps. He really wasn't pushing that hard, was he, at all? What a drive from Van Vukas, side by side alongside with his teammate Zalagianis there for the ground effect sim racing team. It is a 1-2, of course, no real team orders on display there. It's a 1-2-3 even, as Tobias, a 1-2-3 for ground effects. Of course, the Academy Series, there's no limit on the amount of cars that a team can field. Valet have like 20 cars in the series, it would seem. I remember seeing on their announcement post that they put up on Instagram or Twitter or one of the social medias when they announced their lineups this season. I think the Academy driver list had something like 15 drivers on it, which they plan to use throughout the season. Go big or go home, I guess, is their motto. But Van Vukas, I mean, early on in the run, he was on the mediums, of course. He dropped back his on the mediums. It was the alternate strategy. And he went on to the softs. And, he had a big job to do, and I wasn't sure he was going to pull it off, but he made it work, and he made it work so well. What a drive from Van Vukas, and as you said, Tobias, as well, extending his lead in the championship. Of course, it's still early days here in the 2022 season, but, at the same time, it's important to get ahead and get that lead, and that is exactly what Van Vukas has done. What a drive, and some well-deserved 30 points on the books.
Also, Ed, you had a very good first race, didn't you? It was a really good one you watched. What did you think of the race?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and obviously, 1, 2, 3 may sound like domination on paper, but it certainly wasn't straightforward for Grand Effect. They had to really get the strategy right. Molnar, Silviera, Parakan all gave them a bit of a headache, really, and some great battles a little bit lower down as well. But certainly, great result for the Chilean team.
All right. So now going through the final result, we've got P1, Kostas Van Vukas for Grand Effect Racing Sim Racing team. P2, George Zalogiannis for, again, Grand Effect Racing team. Number 3, Istvan Single, Grand Effect Racing team. The first non-Grand Effect, Romulo Silveira for Valet Esports. P5, Attila Molnar, Janis Lianos, Oliver Perikian, Sotiris, Papa Giorgio, Liam Howard, and Matthias Harvick all round off the top 10. Okay, so, boys, who do we think is our driver of the day here? As we continue, Gerard Bartala, P11, P12, Lurg Mounier, Peter Vagapov, P13. Didn't show as much pace as last round, but still an okay result. Eliza Nunez, P14, P15, Dmitry Zaharov. Pretty disappointing for him, must be. Grezhik Lukshak, P14, P16, Jean-Michel Garnier, P17, Thomas Andrea Miharisoa,
Got them in the end.
P18, Kamil Jablonski in P19, and then in P20 we've got Dan Overbranton.
Well, I mean, well done on the pronunciations. I know it's sometimes a bit difficult.
P21. Thank you. Yeah, no, there's some tough names here. Anyway, we go on. Dylan Platt, P21. TR Power didn't have the best race, did they? Indrek Remits, P22. Fabrice Moralato for competition. Fabrice Mistral for competition again. Then P25, Sophie Jones. P26, David O'Reilly. Thomas Smith, P27. Thornton Thomas in P28. And then the 2 retirements, Nando Marsa and Scott Flack. Huge disappointment for them, isn't it?
Yeah, both went out really early on. Wasn't quite sure what happened to either of them. But Scott Flack going out on the very first lap. Nando Marsa not making it too much further. And certainly the other Grand Effect teammates taking all the glory today.
All right, as we've got a small break, let us look at the standings now. So we've got George Zalogiannis with an 11-point lead over Kostas Van Vukas, who usurps a lot of drivers to get into that P2 slot. 11 points behind his teammates. Liam Howard, P3. Loses that position to Kostas Van Vukas. P4, we've got Giannis Lianis, who really jumps up. Peter Vagapov still stays in a sort of good position, 5th in the standings. Matthias Harvick, P6. Wesley Buckout, still P7, so there is still a chance for him. He's not, I wouldn't count Wesley Buckout out. Istvan Single sort of was it's like a silent 3rd position today. Got a good one in P7. Oliver Perikian, P9 in the standings with a good amount of points for today. And then Romulo Silveira rounds off the top 10 with 18 points today. Very, very good round. Very, very good race. Now, I think we've got a chance for... Never mind. We don't have a chance because we have the next round, which is up April 3rd. Don't know what track that is. Ross, do you want to tell us?
Well, we won't know what track it is, of course, because here at FSR, we vote on what the next track is. It's one of the ways that we keep things kind of fair and keep drivers on their toes is after each race, the next track is voted for. So you do not know until, well, it'll be a few days' time until we find out what the track is. So, of course, keep your eyes on the FSR forum, or you can keep your eyes on the social media pages, or you can come in and join the Discord if you want. Again, you can find this all through the FSR website and forum to find out where we're going in a few weeks' time on the 3rd of April. But until then, we'll be left in the dark. We are just as much in the dark as you are, unfortunately.
But isn't that exciting, though?
Yeah,
it is exciting. It is part of what makes this championship so much fun.
Now
it's the fact that, it makes for a pretty terrible end of the broadcast. It's like, and the next round is, we don't know. But, that's part of the fun, is because...
To be continued.
Yeah,
now,
you just don't know where we're going.
Now that I have the chance to say it, who are your guys' driver of the day? I've been trying for ages, and now I've got the chance. Fire away, Ross.
I'm stuck between Parikian and Van Vukas. I mean, Van Vukas, that alternate strategy was just performed to perfection. Really couldn't fault him. I mean, I know I was critical. I know I thought he was on the wrong strategy. He proved me wrong, so absolutely fair play on that one. And it was a great drive from the pole. Even losing out in those early laps on the mediums, he fought back from that. He fought through the field on those soft tyres, made some great moves and great stuff. However, Parikian, those last few laps, yes, he got the strategy wrong, but I think just the absolute amazing display that he put on for us elevated him. So it's between one of those two. I'll probably give it to Van Vukas because overall, throughout the race, I think he was the stronger driver. But don't get me wrong, Parikian, in those last few laps, wow, that was magical to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was going to have to agree with you. I think I'm going to go with Van Vukas. I think he just drove a perfect race. All the way at the stop, we were a bit skeptical about his thing. He really proved us wrong today, which is really just good to see. So no, I'm going to go with Van Vukas. Ed, your final driver of the day idea?
Well, there are three that really stood out to me. I think Lianos was the only one who made the hard tyres work, so big shout out to him holding off Parikian at the end, because I didn't think he'd be able to do that. Silveira, we didn't see much of him, but he had a very quietly impressive race. 2 races in a row where Valet have snuck into 4th position, almost unnoticed, with on their drivers. And I also thought, very under the radar, Liam Howard sort of saved his race at the end by going on the soft tyres and gained a few places, got some points, kept him 3rd in the championship. So that could really keep the Networks driver in the title hunt as we go on. So beyond Van Vukas and Zalagiano, so both had great races, those are the ones who stood out to me. I didn't pick one there, did I?
Yeah, there's a few.
I suppose I would go with Silveira, because I thought he needs a bit of love today as well.
Right, well, we've all gone with different ideas. So yeah. Again, I think we should say this again. Big thanks to SimLabs, Masita Esports, and 3D Rap. Thank you, Ross. Big thanks, and then also
that was Ed.
Ed, I've done it again. No, and then also big thanks for VCO for helping with broadcasts. So no, big thanks to them. Big thanks to Felix van Delft for doing all the overlays. So yeah, give him a big clap if you can. So no, thank you for Ross, and thank you for Ed for joining me. Although I got you guys
here, Tobias. I'm right here.
I know, but I'm just thanking you guys for joining me because I've enjoyed it. Apologies for messing up your names though, but yeah, big thank you to you guys.
Cheers. I would love to do this again sometime if you'll have me.
Oh, well, I'm sure we'd love to have you. I mean, I know you kind of jumped in for last minute for me today because obviously I was a little bit late, but it's been real fun having you in the commentary booth with us. And well, I'm sure we can definitely have you back in the future at some point, Ed. Tobias, you can go away for a bit or whatever. I don't really care.
Well, you'll be hearing me anyway from the World Championship highlights. So look for the
exactly.
race. If you don't want to hear the real commentators, you can hear me giving my take on things.
Also, I think, however, this isn't the end of the FSR day today. We've also got Pro next and World Championship most notably, which Ed also teased by doing the where he'll be doing the highlights. Anyway, I think that's it from us three, isn't it? So yeah. I think we're gonna have a nice goodbye. Stay tuned for the next 2 races. That's goodbye from me.